So basically, we're gonna go ahead and take a shot and everything, and just this is the grand opening back up again. We've been out about a year, so guys, thank you for joining with us, Sam's podcast and everything, and I just want to give a cheers to my partner over here from
El
Paso, Texas. Cheers for that, man.
Cheers.
Man,
that was good. That tasted rusty.
Yes. Okay. So, we wanted to talk about some few things. We hear, him from all the way from El Paso and everything, and we're gonna share some few things about who Kevin is, how Kevin started, where he come from, and he's gonna share some few things. So, Kevin, let me ask you a question, man. What brings you and what made you want to get into the industry, the organization of the solar?
The solar industry, man. It's funny, but I actually stumbled across solar. I didn't want to get into it. It's funny, but the first provider we ever had was Eris Energy. A lot of companies might know them. They're a great installer. But I started actually after I failed in a lot of things as an entrepreneur, and I gave up as an entrepreneur, and I looked on jobs.com. I think I looked for a job. I was just looking for a job that would pay me hourly. and I came across that. I came across this job that paid good, about $12-15 the hour, which for El Paso at that time was phenomenal. And it said to knock doors for a living. I'm like, oh, that's easy. I could do that. So I went into that job. Little did I know that was going to be one of our strongest arms, one of our strongest providers, installers. But I started there. I knocked doors. And then as I was going to move from appointment setter to salesman, and the managers just started seeing I did really good in it, I got pulled into the water treatment industry, and I started knocking doors, but now selling water treatment. So I did that for about 2 years. And then I just felt like solar was the way the way the market was moving, and I jumped on it. Actually referred by somebody.
Oh, so you're referred by somebody then?
Yeah, it's funny actually. The story that came, it was one of the craziest stories I've actually lived in solar. We lived a lot of crazy stories, me and my partners. But I think as an individual, I think that has to be the craziest stories of how I came to solar. It's a very unfortunate story, and I don't want to even get too unfortunate here. But it was one of my coworkers at that time in the water treatment industry. She was actually not doing that good in the water treatment sales. She would sell one every month, maybe sometimes every 2-3 months. But she left, and then all of a sudden she actually borrowed a lot of money from people, but she all of a sudden came back months in, and she just paid somebody, I think like $6,000 outright, just for money that she owed him. And we were like, what just happened? So it turns out she started selling. So she told us, and she shared that with me, but it actually was a time that she shared that with me, and it was towards the end that I actually was like, all right, sure, I'll do it. And she pulled me 2 weeks into starting selling solar. She stopped going into the office to where we were at, and then it was very unfortunate. Actually, it still kills me to this time, but she ended up with cancer. She had terminal cancer. She didn't find out breast cancer, unfortunately, and she passed away. But then it stopped. I stopped and thought about it, and I'm like, she had that, and if I would have taken a little bit longer, I don't think I would have gotten in solar, because I would have not been able to reach out to her. She was my only connection to solar. Maybe later, but I feel like that was a very divine moment that I got.
And it says, God always brings the right people with you in that moment and everything else. And I believe in I believe in God. I believe in the universe. I believe in overall. So, you never know when that opportunity is gonna come. You never know who God's gonna send you for that opportunity. So that's why you must always be humble enough to say, hey, you know what? How can I learn from this person? How can I learn from that person? What do you have to bring? And then always have your mind, your doors always open at so many opportunities. And what I see here is that, that individual, I really believe that God sent you that individual to open up the doors for you to get into the industry. So without that individual, maybe you wouldn't have gone that route. Maybe you would have gone a different route.
And it would have really changed the whole course of how I went about, where I'd be right now, how maybe my partners, I would have not met them, because maybe I wouldn't be in the company I was at that. It was just crazy, and I was very thankful, but also very, very sad, because she meant a lot to me. She was a pillar. Actually, she really did out of goodwill. She invited me over to work with her and enjoy some of the money, because solar back then, man, solar was very young, very new, but there was a lot of commission on the table. So, to me, it was crazy to believe in how much people were earning, but it happened for a reason. Really
All right. So then, one thing what I realized here, like I said again, God opens those doors and everything.
Absolutely.
And just making sure that you take care of the people that you have and people that bring into
Always got to give back.
It's a very important thing, giving back
Absolutely.
into your organization, giving back into your people, your family and stuff like that. So, let me ask another question. What brings the real person going out there, talking to individuals, talking to new, I guess the networking that you get out there. I understand that in this industry you must be doing constantly a networking, and I believe that network is the most important thing to grow your organization.
Yeah, definitely. It jumps. It's funny, but knocking a door for a homeowner in a random house in a neighborhood is not too different than knocking a door at a big firm or a big office. It's always gives you those jittery feelings. You feel it in your knees, you feel it in your stomach. So it's fun. But I think it's more of just getting over the fear. Even right now, being on this podcast is kind of it's for sure. It's getting me there, But I think I think it's funny. One of the things I always caught my attention. I'm an introvert. I'm a big introvert. It's funny. A lot of people don't believe that, but I am a natural introvert. So when I was growing up, sales, all these things were very scary to me. So I think as I grew up and I really started getting into entrepreneurship and finding that was my thing, it started causing me to be attracted towards looking at fear in the eyes. And I think that's why I did so good in door knocking, because I always saw it like a challenge, not like a job. Same thing.
You have a good point right there. Of fear. Fear stops a lot of us from growing. Fear stops us from succeeding. Fear stops us from overall everything else. And like Kevin said, one thing is facing that fear face to face and overcoming that fear. And it's like you going out there and knocking a door, like he was saying. Is like I asked him right now, how do you get those I guess those connections, interacting with other individuals? And he says, yeah. The big firms, you going out there, big corporations, small corporations. It's more talking and overcoming that fear. And I really believe in, as an entrepreneur, if you're in the industry, not an entrepreneur, as a door knocker, as going out there, you have to just make sure that you overcome the fear and face that fear. And you never know what's gonna happen. Just don't worry what's gonna happen. Just take that jump and that leap.
Yeah, I think even to add to everything you're saying, it's spot on. I think even as I'm like elaborating more on how I did it, how I evolved as an entrepreneur, as a door knocker. If I was one of my best things, being able to earn so much money, but being in such a humble job like knocking doors for a living. People always ask me when they saw me, I bought a new car, I bought my home. What do you do for a living? I knock doors. People always found it very interesting, but I just knocked doors. I like staying humble during those times, because it always leveled my head as well, and it kept pushing me to always stay focused. Because when you're young, I was 19, 20, earning a good paychecks, 5 figures a month, and it was for me at that time was good. But it was easy for me to get sidetracked, go partying, go with friends, hang out with my girlfriends at that time if I was still single, doing my thing. But I think it really allowed me to grow as an individual. But it also, coming back to all the connections, everything I did, I think the more when I started, I was always thinking that I needed to be somebody else, that I needed to act stronger, harder, not be soft, not be sensitive. But that's honestly, again, I come back, I'm an introvert. That's who I am. I am that person that shares their feelings, that shares how they're doing, that I don't like saying if I'm not doing good, I'm doing fine. So as I evolved in this industry into knocking doors, I think it really made me realize that the only people you're thinking you're fooling is yourself, because at the end of the day, you got to be true to yourself. And if you're having fun, have fun. And if you're not having fun, then change it. Do something else. So I think
and that's one important thing right there, Kevin, is having fun. You must have fun. You must enjoy. If you focus on money, you focus on how much you're going to pay me and how much am I going to make, don't focus on those things, because many times we focus on those things and then we don't have nothing in the end. So if you're having fun in what you're doing, you're enjoying what you're doing, the money's going to come right strictly to you. You're going to be like a magnet, one of those things. So just you need to have fun what you do. And that's one thing that, I can recommend people and anybody out there is have fun what you're doing, enjoy what you do, go through the process. Everything has a process, everything has a season, and you just have fun with it.
I think that's the coolest thing about doing what I love, that I'm having fun and I'm also growing in my personal ladder. I think everybody has a personal ladder. It's not really all about money. Luckily, I chose an industry that pays really well. But I think it's also about personal development. If that's for you art, if that's for you, I don't know, design, software engineering, if that's for you marketing, whatever it is, it really isn't about the money. When you do what you love, you do it every day, like you're getting paid $100,000 a month, and you enjoy it to the fullest. So I think for us, at least as Minsky, as myself, as my partners, everybody, I think we do what we love, because we love the impact that it causes. And that could be, again, from knocking doors all the way to developing software, having thousands of companies under you.
So tell me a little bit more about this software. You know, so since you came from door knocking, from the I believe from the water, you said, to the water, to the solar and everything, and now, you know, with your partners and Impossible and everything, you create this platform. This platform is called Minsky, right? Share a little bit more about your the platform.
So it's funny how it came, but we knew we were going to do a software platform when we started. We actually started as a solar sales company for residential, for just homeowners. We didn't even start as a software company. The idea of the software was from my partner, Peter Lopez. He's probably watching this.
Hey, what's up, Peter?
He's the one that brought us all together. We actually had another crazy story. We actually had an instance where we were in another solar company. We didn't have the best outcome. We felt like we got taken advantage of. We didn't have the best. So anyway, all of that, us feeling targeted, us feeling left out, really brought us close, and it really displayed our strengths, because I think they say that, you know, you meet really your partners at your lowest, not your highest. So we really got a chance to really work.
I agree with you on that.
We really had the chance to work with each other in those low points. So it really showed what we had. You know, I had the strengths of marketing and sales. My other partner, Humberto, had the strength of accounting, project management, all the back end operations, and then Peter had the strength in networking and pooling people and recruiting and things like that. So we all together did really well before we opened our sales company. But when we opened the sales company, we did it in January of 2020. I don't know if anybody's familiar here with the U.S.'s dates on January 2020, but 2 months into opening our solar company, world pandemic hit us. And it was a crazy story, man. I think we were barely starting to pick up, and then we go on lockdown. We cannot knock doors anymore. We cannot prospect. We cannot encounter homeowners face to face. So for just imagine, just a company like ourselves, we're barely picking up. We started with nothing. We actually left the company we were with because they kicked us, not because we wanted to leave it with. We got kicked out. They withheld commission from us. We were in debt, bills behind. So we were barely picking up, and you could imagine a company that's just doing that in the pandemic, not being able to do what they do for generating money. We really thought a lot of companies didn't make it, unfortunately. It's such a sad story to hear about companies that just weren't able to make it, because I see why a lot of companies they couldn't. And for me, I think it was one of the strongest things that I was able to pull my partners, just not being able to stay still and just be able to. We didn't let neither the government or people tell us, you guys can't do this, you guys got to do that, you guys got to stand still. We found a way to keep going, and we perdured. We just, you know, endured actually through the whole process of just being still. And then, you know, we went from that. We did very good. We grew for about a year. And in March we actually grew to about 3 states. We employed over 300 contractors. And that happened within a year. So we really knew we had something going for ourselves there. But when we opened the company in January 2020, we told ourselves we were going to start as a sales company to understand the processes of a solar company, the back-end operations, accounting, hiring, HR, to start developing the software that we now have. So in March of 2021, we officially launched as Minsky, our software company, and we've been doing, I think I could say, good since then.
Yeah, they're doing a really great job and everything. I jumped on board with them. We jumped on board together and everything about a year ago, maybe going about a year.
Yeah, you guys. I think you were the first or second solar company that ever gave us the vote of confidence of trusting us.
Yeah, I remember seeing your platform and everything. First, I was like, I don't know about these guys, but then
you guys flew out to El Paso. You're like, you saw the software and you flew out to El Paso to meet us.
I think that a lot. That same week or that second week, I believe, or something like that. Something happened like that. I said, you know, somebody introduced me. He said, hey, you gotta meet these guys, blah blah blah. And I'm like, you know what? Let me see what they have. Let me have a Zoom call and everything. Let me see what they're all about. Let me see the platform. And I remember seeing the platform. And I said, man, I fucking love it. And I think that same week, we flew, my partner and I, both of my partners, we flew over there, sat down with you, Peter, I think it was Humberto and Sochi and everything. And we said, hey, you know what? I want it. Let's do it.
You gave us that vote of confidence, man. I think we had, I want to say like 20% of what we have now. in the software, but you still saw a lot of value. So I still to this day thank you for that, my man.
Yeah, and thank you, man. Thank you.
We've been able to grow a lot together. I think both of our companies.
It's still the beginning. It's there's a lot more going to be more growth and more success and more expanding and throughout the whole through the whole United States. You know?
The long term of solar, I'm telling you, there's a lot to taxes, things. There's just a lot involved with the future of solar, and that's the reason why we want to really create a platform a software to allow companies to be a benefit to companies, not just to charge the subscription or be a service where we could charge and be a SaaS, be the next Facebook, be the next, I don't know, Asana, Monday. We really wanted to focus on the pain points and thresholds that a lot of solar companies like yourselves, like a lot of other ones really have, which is the accounting, the project management, the team management, and onboarding things. So we wanted to tackle a lot of things like that, and we're still working around again what solar companies need.
And I really believe that's a really important tool to be using out there, especially in the solar industry and everything. So I mean, let's jump into something. I want to jump to something with you with this,
okay.
and this is something that I know that you shared this. I believe it was like a couple of months back and everything. SolarCon. What is this whole SolarCon about, man? I want to know a little bit more about this, and what gave you that I guess that opportunity or that jump or that as a guest into SolarCon and everything, and how are you feeling? What are you thinking? And how did that fall in your hands?
SolarCon, that's a topic of its own. I think I'm super stoked. I want to give also a shout out to our main Jake Hess. He gave us the opportunity to be speaking at SolarCon as a software. In the software panel as an individual, just bringing on the topic. So we're going to be there talking in April 21st to the 23rd. If you guys get a chance to go, please go. I have a link for 25% off on any tickets you guys want to buy for that. But we were actually very, very lucky to get invited. We're very young as a software company. And I'm going to be sharing a stage with a lot of very big names of very big companies. So it's some big shoes to fill, but I'm ready. I'm super excited. And again, I'm beyond thankful for the opportunity to everybody of organizing SolarCon, for having us there, for giving us a stage and allowing us, again, not to even share about our software, because it's a pitch free event. So, or even panel. It's more of sharing the knowledge and the what we've seen that software, as far as the impact it has on solar companies and the solar industry in itself, because it's something that's very underestimated and very undermined. Not a lot of people are talking about the impact that software is going to have in the solar world, but even just commercial solar, it's very new. And I know there's a couple software and CRMs and engines that are coming out for commercial solar. So that the roof is, it's infinite. There's really no roof on this, no cap.
Let me ask you, what about the commercial side? I know that commercial is coming in within the next coming year, I believe, or this year, I believe.
Yeah, no. So solar actually for commercial has been around for just as long as residential. It just hasn't been that popular. Yeah, and it's, I'm not surprised maybe that in this case that people think it's so commercial. Solar commercially is commercial for solar. It's not that known, but maybe that it wasn't around, but it actually has. I first found that it was just around as commercial not that long ago, but the reason is because there is no financing. The tax credit is just as good, but people had to pay outright. Business owners had to pay outright. They had any restaurants, any warehouses, any places like that. They had to pay outright. They couldn't be financed. And commercial solar is expensive. It's not $50,000, $30,000, $20,000, which for you guys it might sound expensive as a cost itself for solar, but that's for residential. But for business owners, for commercial, it's in the 500,000, $1 million, $2 million. So it's up there for people, and for them to pay outright, that's why not a lot of people know it. But the like I said, the way that is being approached, there's more and more now financing for commercial solar, and we're jumping on with some big players for commercial solar. They're going to help us install, look for the financing, and get everybody set up for that in itself.
Okay, great. So then, basically, on the commercial side, there's going to be you guys going to be pushing more on the commercial. On your platform, correct? It's
funny. We're not jumping on that ourselves as a software. We're probably gonna, because look, if we start getting a lot of business for commercial solar, we're probably gonna have to develop something at least to have commissions show there and communication. Excuse me, on the deal, just communication overall there. But I think we're not there yet, even ourselves. So nothing for our software is made for commercial, but it is the future. We come back. I think the commercial solar, commercially that's sold for businesses, it's something that's very, very new, and the topics that are the ones that are really making business owners consider commercial solar, it's not even the solar itself, it's the taxes. That's what sells these business owners. The reality, when they see that they're able to now every year not pay any more taxes, but be zeroed out or get money back because they have an asset in their roof or in a carport in their parking lot as solar, they don't even think about it. It's ridiculous how much money they're able to deduct with the taxes.
So then the commercial it is commercial. So let me ask you another question. So once you decided to say, hey, you know what, we're going to be jumping into now. Well, you've always had commercial. Yep. It's just now more into now, I guess the financing part of it. You know, I know that a lot of those commercial companies, they actually had to pay up front, you know, whatever amount on cash wise. So now, or
not anymore.
Not anymore. Good. So that's a good thing about it. So I know that you guys are working. We're working now more with a tax.
Yes, big shout out to our man, our partner, our boy Marcos Ramirez from Tax Out. That's the man right there. He's the one that's really pulling out all these, you know, great strategies and just unbelievable stuff that he's coming out with that a lot of CPAs and tax preparers do not know about. But that's really the future of solar for residential. But you know, residential, there's a lot to it still. And he's actually coming back and even helping a lot of people that haven't qualified and didn't qualify for their solar tax credit. He's getting that money back for them as a W-2 and just as a residential. But for the business, I think we're not going to be pitching as businesses, reps, agents are not going to be pitching solar for commercial. They're going to be asked for it when really a business owner understands how it's going to work. And Marcos is able to explain and Tax Out, the team itself is able to get a business owner and sit him down and explain to him how everything works. They ask for that. They ask for Marcos' help. It's crazy how he does it, but it's very beneficial. Again, we come back to like companies like Apple, Google, Disney. They don't pay taxes. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, they actually, Amazon, they didn't have to pay the taxes. They actually got money back for some years. I don't know if they probably still are doing it, but because they're very strategic with their investments. And if you look at most of their offices and operations, they have solar panels on the roof. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know that.
they have solar panels on the roof, so they use all that money that they get back from tax credit and things like that, aside from other things. But their CPAs, that's why they say the richer get rich, you know, because they know all those strategies that a lot of people don't. And Marcos is able to help us all out. It doesn't matter, you know, how much you're earning a year. He will, if you ask for a consultation and you get a service, all that, he will find a way for you to maximize your tax returns and everything. So it's a blessing, and not just solar itself, the benefits, but it's a blessing also being able to play the system and not just be played by the system.
Well, that's one thing right there. Don't let you know you got to know how to play the game. And once you know, if you're not playing the game's gonna play you.
Yeah. So
you gotta make sure you play the game right.
Absolutely.
What's one thing that you can share out there to the people that are hearing this out? What can you give?
Stay positive, man. We had such a hard year last year. It's funny. I think 2020 was, at least, I don't know if my part is, but 2020 was my best year. 2021 had to be the hardest year we had. We made a transition into something that, you know, we didn't know how it was gonna work out. And we're now in 2022, much different, much better, in a better stance and better position. But I don't think any of where we are, what we've done, who we've partnered up with, our partners, including yourself, I don't think a lot of this would have came out if we would have just focused on the bad, on the negative. So we had to stay positive. We had to keep grinding. We had to, you know, not let the current situation dictate how this year was going to turn out. And I think that's what I would tell anybody that's going through a hard time right now, anybody that's hesitant on coming on board for whatever industry. Hopefully it's solar with 1814 Ventures, right?
1814 Ventures.
Anybody that's thinking and hesitant about it, I would probably tell you, don't think about it too much. Just do it and stay positive and have fun. And if you're not having fun, find out why you're not having fun. And if it's because you're not where you want to be, then move. But have fun.
That's one important thing. You know, if you're not happy where you're at, excuse my language, but get the fuck out.
Fuck out, yeah. I agree 100%.
So, I mean, hey, man, just want to let you know on this partner and things. Want to give another little shot.
Another one. I like this. Shot. I'm going to come more often for this.
Right.
I'm going to tell Marcos next time to come for you.
Hey, Marco, this is for you, Marcos. Oh, right here.
Cheers. To Solar and to 1814 Ventures. Thank you guys for having me.
Hey, thank you guys for being part of this and everything and listening up.
Salud.